Welcome back to Think and Speak podcast. Today we are talking about a life skill that everyone needs in English: how to order food confidently in restaurants, cafés, and online. Mr. Miller, why is ordering food such an important speaking skill?
Emma, ordering food is more than just saying what you want. It involves polite requests, clear pronunciation, understanding menus, asking questions about ingredients, and responding naturally to the waiter. It's real-world English.
Exactly. Many learners feel nervous when speaking to restaurant staff. They worry about grammar, pronunciation, and sounding rude.
That's why today's lesson will teach you modern phrases, modal verbs for polite requests, countable and uncountable nouns, and practical conversation strategies you can use immediately. If you want to sound natural and confident when ordering food in English, this episode is for you. Like this video, comment "Food English," and tell us your favorite dish in English. Your participation helps you learn faster. Let's begin.
Mr. Miller, let us start with the basics. When someone enters a restaurant and sits down, what is the correct and polite way to order food in English? Many learners say simple sentences like "I want chicken" or "give me water," but these can sound rude in formal dining situations. Could you explain how to use polite requests with modal verbs such as would like, could, and may? Also, please explain the grammar structure behind these expressions and why they sound more respectful. Our viewers want to sound polite, natural, and confident when speaking to waiters or servers.
That is an excellent starting point, Emma. Ordering food politely is essential in English-speaking cultures. First, let us correct a common mistake. Saying "I want chicken" is grammatically correct, but it sounds too direct in a restaurant. Instead, we use polite request forms. One of the most common structures is subject plus would like plus noun. For example, "I would like the grilled chicken, please." "She would like a glass of water." Would like is a polite form of want. It uses the modal verb would, which softens the sentence. The structure is subject plus would plus base verb, like plus object. Another polite structure uses could. "Could I have the pasta, please? Could we get the menu?" Here, could is a modal verb used for polite requests. Modal verbs do not change form. We do not say coulds or could. You can also use may in formal settings. "May I have a bottle of sparkling water?" Now let us discuss question form. Notice inversion in polite questions. Could I have? The modal verb comes before the subject. In addition, always use please at the end or middle of the sentence. When asking about the menu, you can say, "What do you recommend?" "Is this dish spicy?" These are present simple questions. In modern restaurants, you may also hear, "I'll have the steak." This uses the future form will for a spontaneous decision. By using modal verbs, polite expressions, and correct question structures, learners can order food respectfully and confidently.
Mr. Miller, food vocabulary can sometimes be confusing, especially when dealing with countable and uncountable nouns. For example, we say a burger but some rice. How can learners correctly use quantifiers such as some, any, much, many, and a few when ordering food? Could you explain the grammar rules behind countable and uncountable nouns and give restaurant-related examples? Many learners make mistakes like saying 2 breads or many rice. Please clarify this important topic.
This is a very important grammar topic, Emma. Understanding countable and uncountable nouns helps learners avoid common mistakes. Countable nouns are things we can count individually. For example, burger, sandwich, apple, bottle, cookie. We can say 1 burger, 2 sandwiches. Uncountable nouns cannot be counted individually. Examples include rice, water, milk, bread, sugar, information. We do not say 2 rices. Instead, we use measurement phrases. A bowl of rice. A glass of water. A loaf of bread. Now let us examine quantifiers. Many is used with countable nouns. How many cookies would you like? Much is used with uncountable nouns. How much water would you like? In positive sentences, We often use some. I would like some rice. Could we have some bread? In negative and question forms, we often use any. Do you have any vegetarian options? We don't have any soup left. A few means a small number, countable. I'll have a few fries. A little is used with uncountable nouns. I'd like a little milk in my coffee. Understanding these distinctions improves accuracy. For example, incorrect, I want 2 breads. Correct, I would like 2 pieces of bread. By mastering countable and uncountable nouns, quantifiers, and measurement expressions, learners can order food clearly and correctly.
Mr. Miller, sometimes customers need to make special requests, such as asking for dietary changes or handling problems with their order. For example, someone might say the food is too salty or they are allergic to nuts. How can learners express complaints or special requests politely? Could you explain useful structures like conditionals, passive voice, and polite complaint phrases? Our audience wants to manage restaurant conversations confidently without sounding aggressive.
Another practical situation, Emma. Special requests and polite complaints require careful language. First, let us discuss special requests using conditionals. If possible, could I have this without onions? This uses the first conditional structure for politeness. If plus possible, could plus subject plus base verb. You can also say, I'm allergic to nuts, so could you make sure this dish doesn't contain any? Now let us examine polite complaint phrases. Instead of saying, this is bad, say, I'm afraid this dish is a bit too salty. I'm sorry, but I think this isn't what I ordered. The phrase, I'm afraid, softens criticism. Passive voice is useful to avoid blaming. The steak seems to be overcooked. Structure. Subject plus seems to be plus past participle. Another example. There appears to be a mistake with the order. Using there appears to be sounds formal and objective. For solutions, use modal verbs. Could you please replace it? Would it be possible to change this dish? These are indirect and polite. A full example. I'm afraid this soup is cold. Could you please heat it up? This sentence uses polite introduction plus modal request. By using conditionals, passive voice, modal verbs, and softening expressions, learners can handle restaurant issues professionally and confidently. That is how you master modern English for ordering food in real-life situations.
Mr. Miller, nowadays many people order food online through apps or websites instead of speaking directly to a waiter. This situation requires different vocabulary and grammar structures, such as describing delivery instructions, confirming orders, and asking about payment methods. How can learners speak confidently when ordering food by phone or discussing online orders in English? Could you explain useful phrasal verbs like pick up, drop off, and run out of, as well as imperative sentences used for instructions? Our viewers want to sound natural when talking to delivery drivers or customer service representatives.
Excellent question, Emma. Online food ordering has become extremely common, so learners must understand modern expressions. First, let us discuss common phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs consist of a verb plus a particle, preposition, or adverb. For example, pick up means collect. I will pick up the order at 7 p.m. Drop off means deliver. Could you drop off the food at the front door? Run out of means there is no more supply. I'm sorry, we have run out of chicken. Notice the present perfect structure in the last example. Subject plus have slash has plus past participle. Now let us discuss delivery instructions. Imperative sentences are used to give instructions. The structure is base verb plus object. For example, leave the food at the door. Call me when you arrive. Ring the doorbell once. Imperatives do not include a subject because the subject, you, is understood. To sound polite, add please. Please leave the package outside. When confirming an order, use present continuous or future forms. I am calling to confirm my order. The food will arrive in 30 minutes. You may also ask, could you confirm the delivery time? Is contactless delivery available? Understanding phrasal verbs, imperatives, and polite confirmation phrases helps learners communicate clearly and confidently in modern food ordering situations.
Mr. Miller, sometimes people want to recommend dishes, describe flavors, or give reviews about food after eating at a restaurant. This requires descriptive adjectives and expressive language. How can learners describe taste, texture, and overall experience in English? Could you explain the use of adjectives, intensifiers such as very, really, and extremely, and comparative forms when reviewing food? Our viewers want to express opinions clearly and confidently, whether speaking to friends or posting online reviews.
That is a wonderful topic, Emma. Describing food accurately makes conversations more engaging and natural. First, let us talk about adjectives. Adjectives describe nouns and usually come before the noun. Delicious pasta, spicy curry, fresh salad. They can also appear after linking verbs like is or tastes. The soup is delicious. The cake tastes sweet. Now let us discuss intensifiers. Intensifiers strengthen adjectives. Common ones include very, really, extremely, quite, absolutely. For example, the pizza is very tasty. The dessert was absolutely amazing. Notice that absolutely is often used with strong adjectives such as amazing, delicious, or terrible. Next, let us examine comparative forms. The pasta is better than the pizza. This restaurant is more affordable than the one downtown. Structure for short adjectives. Adjective plus plus than. Structure for long adjectives. More plus adjective plus than. Superlatives describe the highest degree. This is the best burger I've ever had. That was the most delicious dessert. Notice the present perfect in the first example. Subject plus have plus past participle, have had, to describe life experience. To give balanced opinions, use phrases like, in my opinion, I think the service was excellent. It seems a bit overpriced. These expressions soften statements and sound natural. A complete review might sound like this. In my opinion, the restaurant was excellent. The steak was extremely tender, and the sauce was very flavorful. The service was better than I expected. By mastering descriptive adjectives, intensifiers, comparatives, superlatives, and opinion phrases, learners can confidently describe and review food in both spoken and written English. That is how you communicate modern, expressive English when ordering and discussing food.
Mr. Miller, sometimes when ordering food, customers need to ask detailed questions about ingredients, cooking methods, or dietary preferences. For example, someone might ask whether a dish contains gluten, dairy, or meat. How can learners form clear and grammatically correct questions in these situations? Could you explain how to use yes/no questions, WH questions, and embedded questions politely? Also, please clarify the difference between is there and are there when asking about ingredients. Our viewers want to avoid misunderstandings and speak accurately when discussing food preferences or dietary restrictions in restaurants.
That is a very practical and modern topic, Emma. Asking about ingredients requires precision and correct grammar. Let us begin with yes/no questions. These questions require a simple yes or no answer and use auxiliary verbs. Structure. Auxiliary verb plus subject plus base verb. For example, does this dish contain nuts? Is this soup vegetarian? Do you use fresh ingredients? Notice that in present simple questions, we use do or does. The main verb remains in its base form, contain, not contains. Now let us examine WH questions. These begin with words like what, which, how, or where. What ingredients are in this salad? How is the chicken cooked? Which dishes are gluten-free? Structure. WH word plus auxiliary verb plus subject plus base verb. Next, embedded questions help us sound more polite. Instead of asking directly, is there dairy in this? We can say, could you tell me if there is any dairy in this? Notice the structure change. In embedded questions, we return to statement word order. If there is, not if is there. Now let us clarify is there and are there. Use is there with singular or uncountable nouns. Is there milk in this coffee? Is there sugar in the sauce? Use are there with plural countable nouns. Are there any eggs in this cake? Are there vegetables in this dish? Understanding subject-verb agreement is essential. By mastering yes/no questions, WH questions, embedded questions, and correct singular/plural forms, learners can ask about food ingredients confidently and accurately.
Mr. Miller, sometimes customers need to make reservations before going to a restaurant. This involves discussing time, availability, number of people, and special requests. How can learners speak confidently when making a restaurant reservation in English? Could you explain useful future tense forms, time expressions, and polite request structures for booking a table? Our viewers want to sound professional and organized when speaking to restaurant staff over the phone.
Excellent question, Emma. Making a reservation requires clear communication and proper grammar. First, let us discuss the purpose of the call. You might begin with, I'd like to make a reservation for tomorrow evening. I'd like is the contracted form of I would like, which is polite and professional. Now let us examine time expressions. Common phrases include, at 7 p.m., for 2 people, on Friday night, this Saturday, next week. Prepositions are important. We use at 4 specific times, at 6 p.m., on 4 days, on Monday, for to indicate duration or number of people, for 4 guests. For example, I'd like to book a table for 4 people at 8 p.m. on Saturday. Now let us discuss future tense forms. For planned arrangements, we can use present continuous. We are coming at 7 p.m. For polite confirmation, staff may say, your table will be ready at 7. Will expresses a promise or future certainty. You may also ask, do you have any availability? Could we have a table near the window? Notice again the use of modal verbs like could for politeness. If you need to add a special request, use conditionals. If possible, we would prefer a quiet table. Structure. If plus possible, subject plus would plus base verb. A complete reservation might sound like this. Good evening. I'd like to make a reservation for 2 people at 7:30 p.m. this Friday. If possible, we would prefer a table by the window. This example includes polite request structure, correct prepositions, and future forms. By mastering time expressions, modal verbs, future tense, and reservation vocabulary, learners can confidently book tables and communicate professionally in restaurant settings. That completes our advanced lesson on ordering food in modern English.